All right. Well, it's imperative that I definitely record this since we're going to have some students come back into the psychology class that we have found out, so they can watch the lecture that I did yesterday, and they can watch this one too to catch up. Okay. So, but what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about problems with decision making. We talked a little bit about decision making yesterday, and so now we're going to talk about problems with decision making, which is always fun, right? Like I said earlier. We just like y'all, we have y'all understand that y'all have problems with decision making already because you're teenagers, right? Like you kind of chuckle at it, right? Because right, you understand you have problems with it, right? And I kind of made the joke, right? Like I do too, right? That's why I'm a teacher, right? I have problems with decision making. That's why I became a teacher, right? And I also made the joke like that's why I'm a youth pastor as well, right? And somebody popped off. Well, yeah, that you're not wrong, right? That's why people become youth pastors and teachers. But all joking aside, right? There are problems with decision making, right? And there's actually reasons for that. Okay. Sometimes the solution seems just out of reach because the elements of the problem are not they're not arranged properly, or because people get stuck in a certain way of thinking. That acts as a barrier to solving problems. Okay. And so there are three most common barriers to successful problem solving, guys. And here's the three barriers, right? It's functional fixedness, mental sets, and confirmation bias. Do any of those sound familiar? Confirmation bias should really sound familiar, right? They talk about this on like the news all the time, a lot, okay? And so we're going to talk about all three of these really fast. All right, functional fixedness. Okay, we'll talk about this one first. All right, this is thinking about objects only in terms of their typical uses. Okay, so here's the example. All right, so we have a loose screw in the house. All right, so we have a screw we need to tighten. So what do we use to tighten the screw?
Depending on what type of screw it is.
Okay, it's a flathead.
A flathead.
So we get a flathead screwdriver, correct? So we look everywhere for a flathead screwdriver, and that's the only thing we can do. No. All right. There's another solution to that. All right. We can use a butter knife. We can use a key. We could use a coin. Right. But here's the thing: functional fixedness is a roadblock to actually finding a solution. Because we will only think about the one solution that we know, which is the flathead screwdriver. We don't look for other solutions that could also fix the solution, right? Which are other things that are around the house, right? Because of the butter knife, which is used for what? The kitchen, right? The key, which is only used for locks, and the coin, which is used for what? Money and buying things. Right? So functional fixedness is a roadblock to actually solving the problem. Y'all following that? Right? It makes sense, right? So we don't actually look at things where it actually it's a roadblock, and it hurts us to actually find a solution to the problem when we don't have the correct tools. Okay? All right, the next one is mental sets. This is a tendency for people to persist in using problem-solving patterns that have worked for them in the past. Should this sound familiar? Right? So if it worked for you in the past, you just continually use the same thing. Solutions that have worked in the past tend to be the ones people try first, and people are often hesitant or even unable to think of other possibilities. Okay. So, do you see the 9 dots on the board? Y'all see the 9 dots on the board? I want to give Lorena, hand out these worksheets real fast. Okay? And this is y'all's worksheet for today. And there's 9 dots on there. Okay? I want you to attempt something on the 9 dots. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to tell you. I'm waiting for them to pass out the 9 dots. All right. or to pass out the sheet, okay, is on this, I want you to pass through all 9 dots only using 4 straight lines. Okay? I'm going to give you 2 tries at it. All right? So use the first 2, pull out a pen or a pencil, use 4 straight lines and go through all 9 dots. Okay?
Does it have to be more, or can it be less than 4?
No, it has to be 4 straight lines. You have to use 4 straight lines. The lines can intersect. All right? But it has to be 4 straight lines and has to touch every dot. 4 straight lines.
They can intersect?
They can intersect.
They can be separate lines, right?
No, you cannot lift your pencil up at all.
You didn't break that out. I thought that was really easy to write.
It's one continuous line. You cannot lift your pencil up at all.
Wait. For all of the...
No, for one set of 9 dots. Try it twice. And then I'll show you the solution. All right, as you're thinking of that, all right, I'm going to move on because I'll show you the solution in a minute, okay? All right, so let's move on to, we're going to move past mental sets, and we're going to move on to confirmation bias, and then I'm going to come back to the solution of this, okay? And I'm going to show it to you on the board. Sound good? All right, so confirmation bias. This is the tendency to search for evidence that fits one's beliefs while ignoring any evidence to the contrary, right? Yeah, I mean, y'all know this. Y'all see this every day, right? You'll see it on the news. You see it with people's beliefs in the classroom. You see it with beliefs in teachers and how they're teaching sometimes, right? Like, you will see it, right? And you've seen it with me, right? Like, I have told you, like, even in here, right? I was like, look, I'm just totally biased to this, right? But at least I'm honest about it, right? So here's the example, right? Like, there are believers in ESP that tend to remember the few studies that support their beliefs and psychic predictions, but they tend to forget all the cases that show that there is no proof in it. Right? So that would be an example of confirmation bias. Okay? Example number 2, and this one probably hits home, texting and driving. All right? This would be one where we think we're good at it. Right? Oh, I can multitask. I can do 2 things at once. It's fine. I can text and drive. However, we seem to forget that studies show that 97% are unable to perform 2 attention-demanding tasks successfully without significantly impacting their performance. 97% of people can't do 2 things at once without significantly impacting their performance. 97%. We don't remember the time when we were texting and driving, or we were distracted and we almost hit the car. We only remember that we're really good at multitasking. Okay? Because there's confirmation bias in it. Okay? All right? So, we have three common barriers to successful problem solving: functional fixedness, mental sets, and confirmation bias. But not every problem can be answered by using information already at hand and the rules of logic in applying that information. Y'all hearing me? Listen, not every problem can be solved or answered by using information that we already have or already in hand and the rules of logic that apply to that information. Okay? Sometimes we have to come up with new ways of looking at things. We have to be creative. This is solving problems by combining ideas or behavior in a new way. So, logical methods of problem solving are called convergent thinking. This is seen as having only one answer, and all lines of thinking will eventually lead to that single answer by using previous knowledge and logic. This works well for solving routine problems, right? 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? Works well. All right? But the other way is divergent thinking. This is the reverse of convergent thinking. Here, a person starts at one point and comes up with many different or divergent ideas of possibilities based on that point. So here's the thing. Let me ask you a question. What is a pencil used for? To write, correct? That's the essential function of a pencil, correct? Well, that's a convergent way of thinking, right? It's the most basic, simple use of a pencil, right? Let me ask you this way. How many different uses are there for a pencil? Name them. Right? We can write with it. We can poke holes with it. It can be a weapon, right? Right? This type of thinking is divergent thinking. Okay? Yeah, there is a movie called Divergent, right? But this is divergent thinking. This is thinking outside of what the normal use of it is, right? It's thinking of all the possibilities of what that tool could be used for. Not just the one purpose it was actually intended for. Okay? So highly creative people have the most productive periods of divergent thinking when doing a task that is more or less automatic. Okay? So here's the point with divergent thinking, all right? Is these are creative people, all right? And so highly creative people, they are the most productive whenever they're doing like automatic tasks, like walking. And so the fact that well, here's what I want you to understand, all right, is if you can think outside the box and not just stay in this convergent thinking process, but actually think in this divergent thinking process, you'll be more successful in things, right? If you don't think, when they ask you a question, what is a pencil used for? And you just say writing, well, that's the convergent, this is the black and white way things always think, right? Instead of thinking that way, go, okay, well, it can be used for stabbing. It can be used as a weapon. It can be used to punch holes. It can be used, this is the think tank type of way. This is the more creative, intelligent, more broad way of looking at what things can be used for, right? Look at all the possibilities, what it can be done. All right? Then you will find more solutions to your problems. Instead of going, this is the only path to do it. Are y'all following me? Okay. And so, highly creative people have the most productive periods of divergent thinking, right? When doing a task that is more or less automatic, like walking, right? The fact that not all of your attention is not focused on the problem is a benefit, all right? Divergent thinkers often make links just below alert awareness, so ideas can flow without being censored by higher mental processes. Think about that. So when you're just dealing with this problem, right? You're actually hindering a solution to the problem. Are you following me? Because the solution really is right there under the surface. But you're dealing with all these higher functions, mental processes and higher functions, that's actually censoring what the solution is. And so if you really want to find a solution, go and do a meaningless, not meaningless, I can't even say what the word is. Not meaningful. let's say pointless. I don't know. just a very automatic task. Go swimming, go take a walk, do something automatic. Don't take a nap because you can't think, right? But go and do something that you don't have to think about to do it,
Exactly. Yeah. You don't
right?
think.
So that way the higher functions aren't doing things that aren't censoring how you can deal with the problem. All right? So I told you that I would show you how to solve this problem, right? So let's be creative. Okay? Let me see if I can get this over here and solve the problem. See if I can get my... All right. So it's got to be 4 lines and continuous, right? 4 straight lines and continuous. All right. All right, so we've got to be creative to solve the problem. You ready? Oh, yep. I went one too far. Yeah, I missed that one. But you get my point, right?
Corey, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
See if that works for the last one. Start with the second dot on the first row. Go all the way down past. Then go all the way up, way past the first row. Come over to the first dot. And then go all the way down to the last dot on the bottom row. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, all continuous. That solve the problem? Yeah. There you go. Because what was our mindset in this? Our mindset was what?
We couldn't go past the dot. Well, I had it until you told me they had to connect. I had it really good.
Right? We had all these dots. And we were always told as kids, right? We had to connect those dots and we couldn't get outside the lines, right? We've always been told that. Right? So we thought we couldn't go past these dots ever. Right? But to find a solution to this problem, we have to be creative and go past the line to solve it. Or go past the dot to solve it. Right? So we have to use divergent thinking to solve this thing. Right? And to do that, right, we have to go like that. Right? You have to go past the lines when that's not how we think. All right? Example of mindset, right? And not going past the dots. Also example of divergent thinking that we can go past, right? Also an example of being creative to find a solution. All right, guys? All right. That's all I got, man. That's all I got. All right, y'all have any questions? All right.